This is the Podcast Express coming at you with 5 minutes of trouble. The internet's only podcast where we discuss John Carpenter's legendary Big Trouble in Little China 5 minutes at a time. I'm your host, Brett Stillo.
I'm your co-host, Josh Horowitz from the Wing Kong Exchange.
And we got a big episode coming at you right here on the Pork Chop Express, rolling down
Indeed.
Highway 99. We have two special guests with us from beautiful San Francisco, California. One of our stomping grounds, the Balboa Theater. We have Mr. Daven Hayes, manager and mastermind of the Balboa Theater.
Hello there.
And we have Mr. Kai Roath, mysterious gentleman from the East and master of ceremonies of the Super Shangri-La Show. Welcome, gentlemen.
Ni hao ma.
Yes, welcome,
Ni hao ma.
Daven, and
Thanks for having
welcome,
us.
Kai. Yes, it's nice to meet you. I've heard a lot of good things about you from Brett.
Yes. I got to say that just a couple months ago, me and Pete Mummert, so there's your obligatory Pete Mummert, mentioning, but we went to go see Big Trouble in Little China at the Balboa, a great place to see Big Trouble in Little China, and just had to bring these two masterminds along. So, Kai, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Super Shangri-La Show?
Oh, so the Super Shangri-La Show is something I do at the Balboa Theater about twice a month, and I get to show pretty much whatever I like to show there. And for the most part, it usually has the theme of supernatural to most of my movies, I would say, in some sense or another.
Why, that's what a coincidence, because Big Trouble in Little China has supernatural elements in the plot.
5 elements.
5 elements.
5 spices.
And Daven, why don't you tell us a little bit about the good old Balboa Theater?
The good old Balboa Theater has been around since 1926. We play first-run films and repertory films, including Kai stuff. I also have my own series called Night Skies that focuses on late 70s and early 80s genre and science fiction films, in which I began the series with Big Trouble in Little China.
And actually, it was a double
Very
feature,
good.
Big Trouble in Little China
Escape from New York.
and Escape from New York.
Oh, perfect.
Double the Russell Trouble.
Do you guys know about the comic that's going to be coming out pretty soon?
Oh, yeah, I totally ripped off a piece of art to advertise from
Oh, nice.
a double feature from that.
Yeah.
Homage.
An homage.
It's an
Jack
homage.
Burton and Snake Plissken, sort of two of the same
That's right, we were
person,
talking about who would
but
win in a fight.
That would be a
Plissken.
We
good
kind of
one.
all agreed with Pliskin because Jack
Pliskin.
Burton's a total incompetent idiot. But
Yeah.
Well,
Though with Jack's luck,
That's true.
all luck.
it could be. It's all in
Yeah.
the reflexes.
And if Dennis
Yeah.
Dunn's hanging out with him, then he'd probably do a lot better.
I
too.
just forgot a story that my friend went down to a bar in between Buellton and Santa Maria is a little town called San Anselmo, and there Kurt owns a bar, I think a wine bar, and Emilio Estevez owns the beer bar right next to it. And so my buddy went into this bar. He didn't know any of this, and he orders a beer, and Emilio Estevez pours him his beer, and he looks up and he realizes it's Emilio Estevez. And then this girl walks in the door, and he looks over and he thinks, God, it looks like Goldie Hawn.
No.
And sure enough, Kurt walks in right behind her. And he is the only person in this bar just kind of going, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
This is going to be a great episode. This might be a 2-hour-long episode. I think we all have stories.
5
here.
minutes and 2 hours.
Yeah,
If we could
5
do
minutes
it.
and 2 hours. And we should get to this episode because as soon as we're done, then we can head for San Anselmo and go to Kurt's Wine Bar where he'll throw us out. But anyway,
I'm down.
so we have minutes 60 to 65 today.
That's right. Yes, minute 60 begins with the Chinese wild man putting Gracie down in the tunnels. And it all ends with Wang explaining that the stuff in Egg's bottles are priceless. We get our first glimpse of a new character, the Chinese wild man. And I'm led to understand that one of you guys is a bit of an expert when it comes to the influence for this character.
I don't know if I would say so much as I'm an expert for the Chinese wild man. It's just the Yeren. Yeren is translated as wild man. I'm more of a abominable snowman Yeti dude, but that's just right over the mountain. So I know a couple of things. I actually just last night to just get a little retouch. I talked to my friend Cliff Barrickman, who's a famous Bigfoot hunter, and he had done an expedition in China in the Hubei province to look for the wild man.
Oh.
In this province, there's a little shy of 2,000 acres that the actual government of China has blocked off as a sanctuary to the wild man. And there's markers throughout these woods that say, a story where a farmer had met a wild man or someone had witnessed one sleeping here. and it's kind of a neat little. I mean, it's got to be it's a huge park, obviously, but it's cool that that they blocked it off as a sanctuary.
Yeah. So what we're talking about here is not just something that was made up by a bunch of Hollywood dudes. This is an actual endangered species that is attacking Miskatral here.
It's like the Chinese Bigfoot, except instead of being 8 to 10 feet tall like the North American Bigfoot is, the urine is supposed to be 5 to 7 feet tall.
Shorty.
It's a shorty,
Okay.
but he still has big feet.
I hadn't even heard of anything about the urine really before talking to Brett about this. I mean, is this something then that's sort of been discussed throughout Chinese history then? I mean, is this a recent phenomenon, the discovery of the urine?
Yeah, no, it goes back. It's there's like drawings on them on like old ceramics from like 300 to 400 years ago, and like scrolls. There's drawings of them. So it goes back hundreds and hundreds of years of the urine in China. And people just have kind of funny bounces. You know, they kind of bump into him. You know, it's nothing. It's very similar to Bigfoot stories. It's very nonchalant. You'll be walking in the woods, and then you see a Bigfoot, and the Bigfoot's drinking water out of a stream, and then it sees you, and then there's this awkward interaction.
An awkward moment.
Yeah, an awkward moment. And then supposedly that's what all the interactions have been with the urine in this province.
Kai, can I ask how close the design in the film resembles any of the pottery drawings, or what is generally assumed to be the appearance of the urine?
I think that if they probably got the urine and then Otis Urungus from Guar kind of played with him a little bit.
Because that's it. I do get a Guar impression from this creature.
He's a little more drooly.
Okay, yeah.
That's interesting because I look at the urine and I see the Junkyard Kid, the character drawn by Ed Big Daddy Roth in the 60s. It's the big googly eyes and, the wide mouth, I mean, one thing about the urine here, as, he meets Miskatral, he seems like a happy guy. He doesn't seem like a big, scary, angry monster. He's like,
he's a little goofy.
Yeah, he's goofy. He's glad to see her.
Yeah. I definitely wasn't scared as a kid. Again, I was about 6, 7, 8, 9 when I saw this, and it was a unique design. I was fascinated by it, but I wasn't threatened by it in the slightest.
No, if anything, it's like a relief because you're set up to see something scary, and heck, it's a John Carpenter movie.
Yeah.
But then we have a close up. Kim Cattrall screams, and then the urine screams.
Yeah.
I mean, he might have been a little scared there.
Sure.
What
But
are you
again,
yelling at me
the googly eyes helps to
Yeah.
kind of like deflate the fear.
I can't remember if he gets teary-eyed when he's watching the wedding or the sacrifice.
He's just kind of hanging out. It's like he's the best man or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, he knows what's going on.
He's just chilling.
Yeah. So I mean, just who wouldn't want to grab Kim Cattrall and carry her off?
He seems like he knows the tie-down drill pretty good, and he lopped her in chains pretty quick.
Yeah.
He's done that before.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, yeah, he knows how to use cuffs.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Well, that whole little sequence where he's carrying her off, it's like he watched old Universal horror movies, like Creature from the Black Lagoon, Hunchback of Notre Dame. And
Yeah, he did a good jump in the tunnel hole. Flop right down.
Well, this makes me want to think that maybe in that urine suit is John Carpenter.
Maybe I bet it would be more likely Nick Castle, the guy, his buddy from USC, that was that was Mike Myers originally.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's also in the band that played the theme song at the end.
Okay.
He's also the director of The Last Starfighter.
Nice.
Oh,
Wow.
Nick Castle.
well, it's interesting. You guys were mentioning before that, this character of the Chinese wild man actually didn't quite look like it was your typical scary John Carpenter type monster. And from what I've been reading, that was intentional. I was actually looking up this article from a website called monsterlegacy.net, and they were saying that originally the Chinese wild man's inclusion of the film was for shock fright value. This was something that was said by the visual effects art director George Jensen, that the original designs of the wild man were much more scary looking. But when John Carpenter had a chance to look at these, he actually said that he wanted it to be more cartoony for Big Trouble. From what I've been reading, apparently Carpenter originally, he wanted to have this sort of half wolf, half Nosferatu looking monster. And then this guy Jensen eventually created this half mummified, half wild creature that looked like it had been wandering around the sewers of Chinatown for centuries. And that became, this new look. A lot of people worked on this. I have here that special effects artist Steve Johnson, he wrote that in addition to there being a lot of collaboration, they used the same technology that Rick Baker had used in the movie called Greystoke from 1984. They had these sort of ape-type costumes, and that's what they used for this one. But it was cartoony. It wasn't supposed to be scary.
Well, it is a PG film as well. It's not even PG-13, I don't think, right?
But that reminds me of the Greystoke. I feel like all the apes did have that long, stringy hair, just like this guy.
Yeah, you're right. And they were actually kind of like snotty too, like
Yeah.
snot coming out of them and slimy and stuff.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, Rick Baker's come up, and we knew Rick Baker didn't work on this, but we feel like his presence is around in this movie. So
Well, I think since American Werewolf, his presence just like shines over everything that came out in the 80s after that. You
yeah,
know?
true that.
Wispy long hair in that one too.
Rick Baker also has wispy long hair.
Come to think of John Carpenter, especially these days.
Mhm.
I mean, we haven't brought this
John
up.
Carpenter looks like Lopan.
Yeah, he's kind of-
He looks like old Lopan now.
yeah.
Wispy long hair. You guys remember that one episode of Cheers where they had like a beard growing contest? And
I do.
Clavin couldn't grow it, so he just glued this long hair on it.
That's
It
right.
looked very urine-ish. It's like long, wispy, low pan hair.
We got to find a picture of Cliff Clavin from that episode and post it next to the urine,
Yeah.
along with the Junkyard Kid and some of the other monsters we're talking about. Do we know who's in the suit?
Yeah, do we?
Yeah, I was looking that up to try to see, but no, there's no credit for it. It probably was somebody on the Creature Effects crew, somebody from Boss Studios, I'd bet.
Let's just assume it is Nick Castle. I think we're all sort of thinking, yeah, that would be
Well, I am.
apropos. I'd go with that too. Nick Castle.
They're already buddies. We wouldn't have to pay him. Already has the experience. He was Michael Myers.
Oh, was he? He was
Also
Michael
long
Myers.
hair.
Oh,
Yeah, he was the original Michael Myers. Yeah.
then yeah, perhaps.
The
That's
question is,
interesting.
does Nick Castle have long wispy hair?
He does. He absolutely does.
Perfect.
He absolutely does.
Wispy hair.
Hmm.
That should be the name of this episode.
This,
Long, wispy hair.
this will probably be the name of the episode.
You know who doesn't have long wispy hair? Any of us.
No.
None of us sitting here have long
No.
wispy hair.
No hair.
Me too.
And Kim Cattrall, who
She has long, luscious hair.
And green eyes like a gypsy.
In reality, she doesn't have green eyes.
so those are contact
That's right.
lenses.
Contacts.
Bummer.
Sorry.
Do you like Kim Cattrall's scream though? You know, she really tries to sell it, I think. My question is, how many takes did it take for her to have to keep doing that before they finally got it?
I don't
Gosh.
know. I mean, what other
knows?
movie did she scream in before? I mean, before this, she was only in Porky's and Police Academy. Not much screaming in either of those two films.
Yeah.
My
For
my
her.
old boss used to be Dan Monahan, Pee-wee from Porky's, actually.
Oh, really?
He was a really funny guy. Yeah. Little guy.
Man, I bet you had some Kim Cattrall stories.
I never asked him about it. Damn.
You're useless.
Yeah. I wonder if Shrimp Boy made an appearance. He was a pretty long time running crime boss in San Francisco Chinatown. He did a lot of influence with a lot of the politicians up here, but I think it was basically just up in the Bay Area. But he was up here. He had a long run, and then he just finally got busted for
Just like a couple of years ago, I
Yeah,
think, right?
bribing everybody.
Mhm.
You could kind of say he was the John Gotti
Yeah.
of Chinatown.
Sure.
I would love to know what Shrimp Boy thought of Big Trouble in Little China.
I bet he loves it. I
I'd
bet
like
he.
to
I
think
bet
he
he
did.
bases a lot of his because he's his age. He's like a younger guy.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, you've been of the right age.
Oh yeah, I bet
Yeah.
he's just all over this shit.
You know, and the title is
My first one.
There you
Sorry.
go. You got an air horn. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And you know, the name is like a character out of Big Trouble in Little
Yeah,
China.
exactly,
Shrimp
right?
Boy.
Yeah, you know this guy watched '80s. You know, Year of the Dragon and all that kind of stuff. So.
Do you guys? I have never watched the movie and actually looked at the neon signs for any of the restaurants, but I wonder if any of the restaurant neon signs, if those restaurants are still there.
I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of this film was actually not shot in San Francisco.
This is
like
true.
just a couple of exterior shots, mostly when Wong is driving his truck or whatever.
Right,
through,
yeah.
You know, but most of it's shot in L.A.
I made that turn just
Yeah.
today.
You mean into the gates?
Right into the
In
gates.
gates,
Took
yeah.
a left, just like he did with
Yeah.
his little minibus, or it was a yellow bus, wasn't it? It's an
Yeah.
Egg,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Egg
Egg
Shangs.
bus.
egg
Yeah.
shins, yours.
See, up here in San Francisco, we don't watch Big Trouble in Little China. We live it.
Nice.
We're living it every day.
Oh, every time I go to Chinatown and I walk up like Washington or something, one of like the alleyways, and I go see that's the alleyway where he pulls in and fights
Yeah.
first sees the three storms.
Oh
or
yeah,
whatever.
Ross Alley. Yeah,
Ross
Fortune
Alley.
Cookie.
It's a big one, yeah.
Fortune Cookie Factory. There you go.
Yeah, Barbary Cook.
We still the contest is still going on, by the way.
What's the contest?
The contest is if you watch the movie,
Mhm.
count all the Buddhas that appear in the movie.
Oh, really?
Give us a total.
Okay.
Tell us the total, you get a bag of fortune cookies.
It's a lot of Buddhas.
A lot of fortune cookies.
Actually, that's an excellent segue there, Brett, because we actually see another Buddha-filled hallway that leads up to that hole in the floor. So we're at the point now where the Chinese wild man just jumps down, and now we find ourselves in that circular prison room. And like all the locations in this one, they actually have very interesting names, which you can only get if you've seen the screenplay. I actually happen to have a copy of the first draft of W.D. Richter's version of Big Trouble in Little China, and they call this room the Mansion of the Disloyal.
That kind of sucks for Kim because she hasn't been disloyal.
Yeah.
She's been incredibly loyal, in fact.
Yeah. She's Gracie Law.
Mm-hmm.
But,
But by the way, a lawyer named Gracie Law.
Yes.
Just saying. It's like it's a satire all of a sudden. It's like
Totally.
Dr. Strangelove.
Totally.
It's like Saul Goodman.
Yeah, it's like Saul Goodman.
Yeah.
I'm not sure they were good friends.
My note here was that Kim's performance at this point, it almost seems like she's Fay Ray in King Kong. She's doing the whole, let me go, you big ape. That sort of thing.
Does she do that? I forget if she does. She does like a little bit of like back pounding, right? With like,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
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 that's always good. No.
Like I said, it's like an homage to that kind of movie. Creature from the Black Lagoon
Yeah.
and all those
Golden Age monster movies.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think the Aaron's digging it. It's like, God, I'm living a dream.
Yeah.
He wants her to pound on his back.
Oh, yeah.
And
Well,
maybe-
he cavemans her, right?
Yeah. It's just like, oh, this is great. I love it. I feel like Lon Chaney. I feel like Lon Chaney Jr.
He doesn't do anything like creepy. Like he doesn't like do any kind of lecherous touching though. There's nothing
No.
sexual about a relationship at all. It's what they could really do in the 80s because it was all about that kind of stuff back
No.
then. So
I think he's just happy
just
to have
like,
a
oh,
friend.
lady, yeah, he gets attention now.
Actually, the lecherous touching is coming, but it's from a different character coming up.
Yeah, it's coming up. So
Yeah, no, I like the fact in this that once Gracie is down, you hear this chain rattling sound effect that helps sell the fact that the wild man suit is probably a little too unwieldy to actually chain up Gracie, but you see him from behind, you hear the chain rattling, you kind of get it.
yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Totally.
it's all done through the magic of editing.
Right.
Exactly.
And then Rain and Thunder arrive. They smile and they notice Gracie's green eyes. My note here is that throughout this movie, anytime you've seen green eyes or something that the audience is supposed to notice, usually you get a little ding in the soundtrack. You don't hear it here. Noticeably
I thought I
absent.
heard a ding there, but maybe I was wrong. But
Hmm.
yeah, that is like a little timpani. Like ding. She's got green eyes. Ding. So I have a question here because we have two Storms dressed in their black suits, managers of the month.
Right.
You guys know about manager of the month?
Not just the prize you get when you're working and you're
No.
really good at being a manager.
It's actually a cut scene from the script, but we see.
Oh no, what is this?
Josh, why don't you go ahead, enlighten
So-
them?
Yeah, so the first time that Jack and Wang actually go into the Wing Kong Exchange to try to spring everybody, in the screenplay, after they walk through the front gate, they go through like this area in the back of the Wing Kong Exchange, and they actually see on the wall there's a picture of Rain, and he's wearing his business suit, and it says Manager of the Month.
Ah,
So there's that was supposed to be the tie-in, I guess, explaining why they're wearing those Western suits.
right.
Yeah. So they're not just supernatural figures.
They have day jobs.
Yeah, they have day jobs.
And they had nice suits.
They have very nice suits.
Oh, they're great.
My question is, where's Lightning?
Yeah, you never see him in Western clothes either. He's always wearing
Yeah.
his regular outfit.
Well, Lightning's kind of the alpha one, right?
Yeah.
So
At least he made it on Mortal Kombat.
Good point. Good
That's
point. But yeah, there's certain scenes here. This one's most notable where you only have two Storms. You kind of wonder if they had trouble with Lightning or he wasn't available. Maybe he got sick.
Yeah.
Maybe-
It is kind of odd. I mean, remember James Pax, who played Lightning? He was the one who was the model, actually.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
you would think that, yeah, maybe he just wasn't available, or
stuff happens.
Or he was just too good for this scene.
Did John Carpenter talk about the three storms and how they were based after the Lone Wolf and Cub villains?
no, I haven't heard
No.
that one. I've heard some references where they say that the characters come from something called Zoo Warriors of the Magic Mountain. But
yeah, I've heard that.
but I'm
one.
not-
I never heard the Wolf and Cub. one
what's
before.
what's the
Yeah,
Wolf
there's
and
a-
Cub
there's-
one?
Well, there's a few movies called Lone Wolf and Cub. They're Japanese samurai movies, and he was like a rogue Ronin, and he would push this little baby cart with his little son, and he was on a kind of a vengeance path. And I think on the first movie, or maybe the second one, he dukes it out with these three fellas, and they look just like the Three Storms with the big straw hats over the heads and the cloaks.
Which movie is the one with the three villains? Is it the first one?
The first one.
The first one? Okay, I'm trying to
They're
remember.
the bad guys at the end.
Interesting.
Or they could be in the second
And
one.
they don't have supernatural powers.
They don't have super, but they have little. One guy has these Wolverine claws that he holds. Another guy has swords. They all have like their own unique weapons,
Right.
just like Big Trouble.
And just like the Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
Lone Wolf and Cub.
That's
Cool.
interesting.
I know that series, but I did not know the connection. That makes sense.
I mean, that's my guess. If you ever see Lone Wolf and Cub, you see these three guys, and you'll just be like, "Holy guacamole!"
Yeah, we'll have to put a link up in the glove compartment on the site about that one. That's interesting. And then Lopan arrives. Yeah, he wheels in. We hear his distinct electric wheelchair sound effect, and I like the lighting in the scene when we actually see the basket case on
It's
wheels
dark,
version
right?
of Lopan.
Yeah.
I think he looks a lot creepier when he's not in direct light.
Right.
Now, this brings up a question, though, because a few scenes earlier, we meet old Lopan. We see him do the big flashy transformation where he becomes the 10-foot roadblock. But now, in front of Gracie, he's back to little old Shirley Lopan, which it makes me kind of wonder this curse he's got, where he's a living ghost. He is without flesh. You'd think, like, he would just opt to be the 10-foot roadblock all the time. But maybe it's like an Incredible Hulk deal where he can only manifest himself in his cool, big, scary, gothic glam rock Lopan for short periods of time. Then he has to go back to Shrilly guy on the wheelchair.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I always thought when I watched this as a kid, at least, that when he's the 10-foot tall roadblock version, he's fully ghost. He has no physical form at all. If he wants to have a physical form, then he has to be in that 2,000-year-old man guise. Like even though that's an awful thing to be in that state, at least he can, I don't know, feel what it's like to be in the physical world. So maybe he wants to be that, like when he needs to talk to people. Also, it might be just part of his disguise. I mean, he kind of wants to seem like this old, feeble old man when he encounters certain people, get them off guard, and then he can capture them or something. That was one thought.
To comment on the idea that Lopan in the young form is just a ghost and has no physical, he can't interact physically with anything, but as an old man he can. When he gets hit by the Pork Chop Express, there's a definite thud going on there.
Yeah.
Like he gets hit. I mean, he walks out the back and he's fine. But when you see him get hit by that thing, it's a doll or something.
Yeah,
but,
he just kind of crumples.
It's a hit and run.
Yeah. No, weird. You would think from some of the later scenes when you see Lopan as the ghost actually sort of phasing through furniture and through walls, that's
he goes through walls.
That's what it should have been with the Pork Chop Express. But no, you get that effect of him kind of like crumpling, that doll look. And
maybe it was an afterthought or something.
yeah, I don't know. Just one of the weird nuances.
It has more of an effect when you see him get hit, because as an audience, you don't know what the hell's going on anyway. So you're just like, oh, they hit a guy. What the heck?
I mean, it was early in the movie, so they didn't know what the hell was going on.
Lopan likes messing around.
You probably just flop back up like one of those orange warning cones when you're driving.
That's exactly it. He's made out of the same stuff as a warning cone.
Then you hear a sound effect, boing, when he gets back up.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's it. I'm done. Lopan at the warning code. I'll see you guys later.
I do like the part where Lopan starts to tease Gracie. Gracie's saying, I've had it up to here. And then, he's just kind of mocking her with this high-pitched voice. And just
Mm-hmm.
He turns into a dirty old man, basically.
Yeah.
He gets a little gropey.
He does. But then Gracie tries to bite him. I mean,
And he must taste awful.
But he loves it, too. He's like, oh, she's so feisty.
Yeah.
She tried to bite me. That's great.
Paying attention to me.
Yeah.
He loves it.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, doesn't he dangle his fingers out for her to bite him or something?
Kind of. He kind of goes to kind of breasty area, but he doesn't go too far. He's just kind of poking at her a little bit.
But
Like a creepy uncle that doesn't quite get that
Oh.
creepy, but it's creepy enough that you're like, I don't want to sit next to him kind of guy.
creepy great uncle.
Yeah.
Who smells like old socks.
Right.
He's got an old sort of like, mothball kind of smell to him.
Sure.
One thing that I've been kind of hooked on recently, and the more and more I go through Chinatown, I do a little bit of research on this because I think it's kind of cool. I'm a big fan of like, gunslinging duels in the Old West.
Yeah.
And when the Chinese Tong would fight, the hatchet men would fight, they would pick locations in Chinatown that were cool to fight in. So that way, if one of them died, they died in a cool, just like in a kung fu movie, they died a cool death. So they would fight, obviously in alleys like in the beginning of the movie, but they would fight on a roof of a building, or there's like a Waverly Place is like a dead end alley, and they would fight in this dead end alley. So it's kind of cool that there's like that little hooty hoo in the beginning where they actually meet and duke it out in the middle of an alley. It's supposed to be like Ross Alley.
Well, I'm sure they've talked about this already, but this movie started off as a Western originally.
Yes, that's
The
true.
first draft of the screenplay was a Western. And then later when the guy who made Buckaroo Banzai took over as a screenwriter, they made it contemporary. So
Why, that would be W.D. Richter.
Oh, it would?
Yes.
John Big Booty.
John Big Boot. Tay.
I think, is it true that they actually thought of this as a possible sequel for... I've heard that too, for Banzai. They would rework it into making it a sequel.
Yeah, some people do speculate that the World Crime League, the whole concept of Hanoi Zan is supposed to be Lo Pan and the whole thing about Chinatown. But the one thing that we keep forgetting is that Richter didn't actually write the screenplay for Buckaroo Banzai. I think it was Earl Mac Rock or Rout.
Oh, he was just a director.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Richter was directing it. So he has been asked about that, and he kept saying, "Well, no, this is not my script. I just kind of directed it."
That's a good point. But I mean, Earl MacRock and Richter worked so closely together, and they had such a tight relationship. Yeah, it kind of blurs for me too.
Well, both of these properties are really like have a huge foot in like 1930s and 20s pulp. Like
Completely.
Buckaroo Banzai is basically Doc Savage.
He is.
And then Big Trouble in Little China, you're dealing with like Fu Manchu and stuff. So
Yeah.
these are all just old like shadow stuff. Yeah.
But I feel, there is a lot of, if you will, kinetic energy from Buckaroo Banzai that overlaps. I've said this before on the show, but my personal theory is it's all happening in the same
Universe.
cinematic universe that, Jack Burton might be driving World Watch 1 at some point. Is he
Sure.
a driver? Oh.
Right.
And, obviously Lo Pan and Hanoi Zan have worked together,
Oh, clearly. Yeah.
trying to corner the fortune cookie market or other nefarious deeds. Nefarious things.
Well, while we're talking a little bit about W.D. Richter, there's something I need to mention about the scene before we leave. There was a totally alternate scene in the screenplay that happened here that was cut. It turns out that after Lo Pan recognizes that Gracie has green eyes, Rain, and all the storms really have a lot more lines in the screenplay version, but Rain objects to Lo Pan, saying, "This girl is white. Beneath you, Lo Pan. Your bride is Miao Yin." And so then Thunder suggests putting Gracie through the test of the beasts. And so they take Gracie to the hell of the White Raven. And inside, so this is another room, inside we see that there's two female Wing Kong guards who failed to stop the heroes from a previous scene. They get tossed into a cage with fierce Chinese crows attacking them, and they eventually turn them into hamburger. And we had Leah Chang on before, one of the Wing Kong guards. And so I'm wondering, could this have been an extra scene for Leah if they had actually gone and done this, one of the failed female Wing Kong guards. But the interesting thing here is that they decide then to throw Gracie inside to this cage, the hell of the White Raven. And she waits then to be torn apart, but the ravens just settle down and they walk around her feet. And this proves that Gracie is worthy of Lo Pan. So that was like the test that happens before.
The stuff that they don't shoot. That's cool.
Probably for budgetary reasons.
Budgetary reasons. I'd like to think that maybe the Ravens were big Porky's fans. They're like, is that Kim Cattrall? Yeah, it's Kim Cattrall. Ooh. So that would have been a cool scene.
Yeah.
It's too bad we didn't get to ask Leah that if she had been turned into hamburger, or maybe that would have been inappropriate. But
Is this one of the female wing kongs that are in the scene when there's like all the like slave girls
Yeah.
that they free and stuff? Okay.
Yeah, we had her. We had Leah on a couple of episodes ago.
Oh, wow.
So it's-
What's she been up to?
all kinds of things. She's a writer, and she's a filmmaker.
Is she local? That's
No, she's actually she's born in San Francisco, but she lives in New York.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
yeah,
And yeah, she was really cool to talk.
yeah, she was the one who had the smoking staff.
Yeah. Smoking staff's very,
Good chat,
yeah,
yeah.
very notable. Because you're like, what is that doing?
Yeah. And
She
she's
doesn't really do anything.
she's a good friend of Rain, Peter Kwong.
So moving on. So now that we're back at the Dragon of the Black Pool now, I like the nice close up of Jack sharpening his magic knife, complete with the bottle of honing oil next to it.
Mm-hmm.
He takes care of his knife. That was a nice touch, I thought. Jack cares. He cares
It's
about his
kind of the
knife.
one thing he has is that knife.
Yeah.
Until Egg gives him the gun to look like Dirty Harry, which is in the same scene.
Which is not that well. Yeah, we got some stuff before that, but
Yeah, we've started speculating that maybe that knife has some magic properties. We were discussing that in a previous episode, just because we see it. Well, I mean, it's going to have a major role near the end of the movie, of course. But like
Yeah.
there was that one scene where where Jack is, he's trying to get involved in this big fight scene, but no, he tries to reach for the knife, and the knife just magically slips out of place, and then he has to go chasing after it. But
Yeah.
maybe the knife has a mind of its own to make sure that Jack doesn't get into trouble when he doesn't need to.
yeah.
I still think it's kind of weird when he goes down that slide and falls in the pile of fish, that he goes down holding the blade in his mouth instead of the handle in his mouth. Because if I was going to go, head first down into a tunnel, probably wouldn't put the blade in my mouth.
Yeah.
Unless
You're Jack Burton.
and you have a magic knife.
I think he's just trying to look cool.
But yeah, you're right. Folks, when you're sliding down a slide, have the handle in your mouth. Don't put the blade in your mouth. It's a bad idea. Okay?
That's something you see like a pirate like climbing aboard like a ship like at night, to attack. He's got it in his mouth like that.
Yeah. But a real pirate would tell you, "I don't do that."
Yeah, put my teeth on the handle.
Just in the movies.
You'll get a nasty cut there. It's no good. But yeah, it's Jack's knife. I think is a little like a Warner Brothers cartoon bullet. It sort of has its own mind and personality, and I could picture the knife like going over here. Hey,
Right.
so
It saves the day at the end, is it not?
this is this is true. This is true.
Do you like Jack's line about the cops having better things to do than get killed? It kind of brings us back to a previous minute.
Yeah, well, he's mimicking something that somebody else said to him.
Yeah,
earlier,
I mean
right?
that's what Wang said way back right after the alley scene. I mean now
Right.
Jack has grown as a character. He
has.
he acknowledges that all this stuff is real, and and then you see Wang acknowledges that Jack understands now. You see a quick little shot where he kind of nods like, okay, yeah, he gets it now.
That's a really good point. His delivery of that line, there's a certain low-key fatalism. I mean, we all know Jack Burton is about bravado and, being larger than life even when he's not. There is a certain, he's resolved to take this to the end.
Yeah, and I think he finally realizes that he is truly out of his element. Like he's not in control. These other, he's an outsider. So, so he's got to use his trusty knife instead.
What's the name? Is there a name for that? The hand gesture that they do throughout the movie?
I mean, this.
Yes.
Oh, the
I don't
hand
know.
sign.
I do this.
Yeah,
What do you call it?
The Chang Sing hand sign.
Chang Sing. Okay.
Yeah, it's their hand sign.
Yeah.
It's
Guess
like
you're
a
like a kid on
salute.
the
It's
playground.
like a secret handshake.
Oh,
Anytime I was going down an elevator as a kid, I do that.
wow. So we have two people who grew up using the Chang Sing hand sign.
Oh yeah.
That's very cool.
Jack Coyote.
Well, James Liu would be proud, I'm sure.
That's very cool.
Let me see. Oh, yeah. So then the Chang Sing enter at that point along with Egg, and we get that shot of the restaurant patrons freaking out. I mean, it's just like a quick little scene. You never really think about it. But I read in the screenplay, it turns out that these patrons are the Chinese girls that Jack helped rescue. They're now being cared for by Uncle Chu. So all those girls that were in the prison now, they're in the restaurant. So you can understand why they'd be freaked out. I mean, if they see these big tough guys come in, considering what they all had to go through.
Okay, that's why Egg says, no, it's cool. They're good guys. It's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's true. I mean, the Chang Sing and the Wing Kong do pretty much dress alike.
Yeah.
Was it just a matter of like different color bandanas?
Yeah. What color are the turbans?
I still want to get a pair of those sunglasses like the guy has in the beginning, the white one.
Oh, with the little streak? Yeah.
Like the Cyclops.
Oh,
Except they're not really sunglasses.
that's right. They're Eskimo snow goggles.
Ah. Inuit snow goggles. by
Ice
the way.
Station Zebra.
If you go to
Station Zebra.
5minutesoftrouble.com and you go to one of the episode synopses, I think it was, I don't know, back in episode 3, I think it was, I actually have a link to where you can buy those type of glasses. And they're
Whoa.
super expensive.
They're
They
all
sell them in
yours.
the UK. I think they're over $100. But yeah, you can you can wear them.
Kai, world traveler and international adventurer that you are, I'm a little surprised you did not recognize those as Inuit snow goggles.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I still have a high regard for you and respect, but I'm a little surprised you didn't, I would have thought you would have been all out, Inuit snow goggles.
Well, do you go that far north usually?
Juno.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I don't know.
I know what.
I'll ask you later.
Yeah,
I'll ask
Good night, everybody.
We'll be here all week. Thank you very much.
Let's see the next part in here. I like the part here where Jack talks to one of the Chang Sing, asks him if he savvies English, and then James Liu, who's the Chang Sing #1, he's got that great response to Jack. In the screenplay, the Chang Sings don't speak English, so this is something that was added later, and I think it's much funnier in the film this way.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a very Western accent too.
Yeah.
He's just like, "Hey, man, what do you think we are?"
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's very, it's very streetwise. James Liu grew up in East LA, and that you can kind of get a sense of his real life street smarts. Who is this guy? James Liu was also, the principal fight choreographer, so I think he definitely deserved to have at least one line in the movie, and that's the line to have.
Yeah, definitely.
Actually, when I was like probably 20 years ago working at slinging videos at a little video store, this one Calvin, this homeless guy used to come in all the time when I'd watch Kung Fu flicks, and Thunder was his sensei back in the day in Hong Kong when he was studying Kung Fu seriously.
Wow.
Carter Wong.
That makes it. Yeah,
Nice.
the great Carter Wong.
Yeah, he would come in and he would bow to the TV that I was playing the VHS movies on of his Kung Fu flicks and say, "Sensei, I'm here."
Wow.
That is dedication and respect.
My mind is blown.
Well, I was also pretty blown away by the gun that Egg Shen pulls out, that Dirty Harry gun, the gigantic 357 Magnum. I'm wondering, was this a nod to the Western version of the script for Big Trouble in
Yeah.
Little China?
Or San Francisco. I mean, Dirty Harry's a San Francisco film as well.
Yeah, I got the feeling it was just an excuse to have a Dirty Harry reference.
Kind of, yeah.
Because that does look like exactly like the same model as Smith & Wesson.
Yeah.
Inspector Callahan.
And it doesn't really come up again in the film, right? It's
No,
kind of, it's
no.
a sight gag, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of a throwaway gag. 'Cause,
Yeah.
you never see that gun again.
No.
Interesting enough, I never remember any scenes where Callahan was ever in Chinatown in any of the Dirty Harry movies.
That's a good point.
Well, I like the line that comes after that. Jack says he'll stick to these. I actually thought that was a little odd, what he was actually referring to, but I guess he's talking about his knife and the Tech 9 that he had.
Right.
The Tech 9 is that little machine gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one he blows a hole in the
It
roof.
was really popular during that time. So I feel like I remember my G.I. Joe guys having that gun for a while.
Yeah. The Tech 9 did have a reputation as a street gun. Drug dealers
You don't
used
see
it.
that anymore.
No, it was. The funny thing about the Tech 9 is it was a lot. It looked a lot cooler than it was. It
With a
was
jam
not
or
a
something?
submachine gun. It just was like a pistol that fired a lot of bullets,
Yeah.
or held a lot of
It's
bullets.
German Luger. It had like its heyday in like the 80s in a few flicks, and then next thing you know, it was like that Gatling gun in Predator was the next cool thing.
Right. The German Luger is the Han Solo gun, right?
Now that's the Mauser broom handle.
Okay.
The Mauser 1898,
Was
which
the
was one of the first automatic pistols, and that became the
Solo,
basis for the Han Solo
Right.
pistol.
Which was the German Luger? Is that the one that can fire through like 5 people in a row or
This
something?
is a cool looking gun. I forget what movies it was in, but
a lot of spy movies,
Yeah.
a lot of war
Yeah.
movies.
when you see it, you're like, "Ooh, that is slick."
bad guys did have cool style.
But they all jammed, I think, really badly, right?
Yeah.
The cool guns jam.
Just like jazz musicians.
That's right. Well, cool. Yeah. Good point.
The next part that I have in here, my note is imagine what the comedic possibilities would have been if Margot had actually come along, if Jack didn't tell her to stay home.
Yeah, but Eddie had a crush on her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who the UPS guy who comes into my work every day looks just like Eddie.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe it is. I
looks
haven't
like
seen
a-
that guy in a long time.
He's
So
like 6'4", the guy that comes into my work. He's like,
Oh, Eddie always looked tall.
he's a big dude. Huh?
yeah, he's a big guy.
No, Eddie he's working. He's still working in the business. He's not a UPS guy. I'm sorry to
Yeah.
burst that little bubble, but
But that scene has my favorite Jack Burton line in the entire film, which is, I love it. It's so great.
It's like a fire blowout.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just, whatever.
Yes, he's in it for his truck, not Gracie.
Hmm.
yeah, this is just classic. Jack being 10 years old again.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a lot of the dialogue again is just like it's like fifth graders.
I like it though. You know what? You just don't need that much comedy relief to go along with the adventure.
You mean Margot?
Yeah, with Margot. I
Right.
was just thinking about that. That would have been like too much.
Well, they don't establish her doing much except for writing. I mean, she's a reporter.
Yeah.
It's a really funny scene when she's kidnapped and she's just writing in her book, "All is lost."
Yeah, that was good.
That's kind of funny, but she doesn't really have any other skills. She'll write the story later.
Maybe her pen could have stabbed Lopan at the end.
I mean, what is that? Was it in The Godfather? Did they do that? Oh no, it's in Batman '89 when Jack Nicholson stabs the crime boss with a pen.
Oh,
And he says the pen is fighting. So
Yeah, that's
you
right.
know.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I knew that gag was somewhere.
Yeah.
But,
I know. I had to think about it too. I was like,
but yeah, somebody's got to stay behind.
let me see. The last note I have for this scene, notice that Jack takes a newspaper with him. So was he planning on reading during all the fighting downtime? I look closely at that one, and he's using the newspaper to hide his Tech 9.
oh.
That's a tried and true gangster bit.
Yeah, using the newspaper to hide your
That's
gun.
classic. That's Edward G. Robinson and James Cagney.
Sure.
Yeah, I got a newspaper here. See, you gotta get it.
Get this issue,
Yeah.
kid.
And if you don't have a violin case around, you just go with a newspaper. Classic stuff. Probably courtesy of John Carpenter, who knows his gangster movies. He knows his genre movies.
He does.
Violin case. Tommy guns were pretty cool for a while. Remember that?
Oh.
Untouchables.
Mhm.
So it's still a cool looking. The Tommy gun is featured in the alley fight.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
It's a classic movie gun.
Shoots everywhere except for where you want to hit.
But yeah, it's just spray the bullets around. One will hit somewhere.
I've always wanted to shoot an elephant gun. Not at an elephant, but just
They only work on elephants.
Yeah.
It won't fire.
They're also only in cartoons.
What is that called? A blunderbuss?
I don't know. The blunderbuss isn't. The blunderbuss has like a kind of a big horn ending, doesn't it?
Yeah, isn't an elephant gun too?
I guess it does. Huh?
Yeah.
It's like a little short and stubby dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a joke in a cartoon where I think it's like a Bugs Bunny cartoon where like Elmer Fudd is hunting Bugs Bunny with an elephant gun, and Bugs Bunny says, "You can't hunt me. That's an elephant gun." And so Elmer Fudd like crosses out elephant and writes rabbit on the barrel or something like that. It's Big Trouble in Little China. You got to deviate over to talk.
Like the same kind of humor though. It's all Warner Brothers. You kind of humor.
90-minute cartoon.
Yeah. But then we move on. We're back at the marriage chamber, and we get the eloquence of Carter Wong. Carter's pronunciation of "play your cards right" is
Oh yeah.
it's amusing. I always like that. Yeah, that's his big line. Pray your cards right. You live to talk about it.
That's right. Pray your cards are well. A great martial arts actor from Hong Kong.
There were some YouTube videos of Carter Wong where he's interviewed by like a public access cable guy, and he talks basically just like this. I mean, he's English certainly not his first language, but he does his thing. He gets by without
Oh,
it.
yeah.
So.
I love Carter Wong. He's just got such presence.
Mhm.
That's like I said it before, that crazy big smile he has. He's like love it. Kai, have you ever seen Born Invincible? put it on your list.
Is that the one when the guy turns invisible when he's in prison to go on a murdering rampage?
No, Invincible. Invincible. It's Carter Wong with a cool white wig, and he's invincible in it. Several generations of Shaolin monks try to take him out, and they feel miserable until the very end.
Huh.
It's a good one. It's a good one. Desmond Miller would highly recommend it.
Yeah.
But, regardless,
Yeah.
folks, check out some Carter Wong movies. There's a bunch of them on YouTube. He was a friend of Bruce Lee's. They worked together. We've said it before. We'll say it again. Carter Wong was and is the real deal.
He lives in Hong Kong now, right?
Probably. He's Carter Wong. He can live wherever he wants. He was also he was a personal instructor of martial arts to the Hong Kong police force.
Yes, that's right.
That's why he's the real deal. And so when he says, pray your cards right, you do pray your cards right.
Uno.
You don't question Mr. Wong. You don't question thunder. You don't tug on Superman's cape.
Well, you mentioned that Carter Wong doesn't have very many lines. We actually get Miao Yin's only line in the film that comes during this scene where she says yes. She actually had quite a few more lines in the original screenplay. And in this particular scene, just wanted to read off some of the stuff that she had here. She actually, she's in this sort of drug dreamlike state at this point in the screenplay, and Miao Yin tells Gracie, I am the prophecy. I am as ancient as the mountains, and he loves me as the morning glory loves the sun, referring to Lo Pan. And her voice is kind of unnerving, thicker than human, the screenplay says. Then when Gracie tells her to wake up and snap out of it, Miao Yin says, but he is a warlord, and I only a peasant girl, and the first sovereign emperor Qingshi Huangdi has gone mad, and condemned our union, and set upon us the god of the east, and cursed us, and made the man I would marry a man of no flesh, and made me... And then Lo Pan enters and says, only a memory.
Wow.
Wish my wife would say that in the morning.
That was it. Those were going to be her lines that just never made it.
Wow. See, I knew way back in minute 10 when she's on the airplane, she's just not into Wang. She's got other things on her mind. Wang's just like telling all about her when Jack's driving her to the airport. It's like, no. She really should have ended up with Lo Pan.
They make out pretty heavy at the end. They make out.
Yeah. But a couple episodes back, Pete Mummert was talking about, he'd done some reading about what was going on. Was it the Maoyan province? Right.
Or the Miao province.
Just Miao province and, Miao Yin. So, I think we were speculating, is it her destiny? Well, I mean, obviously it is. It's like sounds like some kind of reincarnation deal.
The other thing that I have here is that notice that Lo Pan calls Gracie Law Grace, not Gracie.
Oh. And, he's back in 10-foot roadblock mode.
Yep.
He took a break. He came back. He's to me, there's a scene here where he really looks like John Carpenter. Like, is it Carpenter or Lo Pan or, which one or the other? But
that just made me realize that I've got an Auntie Grace, and sometimes I call her Gracie. Sometimes I call her Grace. My dad calls her Spacey Gracie.
From the ending of that Lo Pan scene, we quickly get a cut of the back alley. I like the exchange between Wang and Egg about the whole thing about the brave man and the wise man. Kind of reminded me a little bit of Star Wars, actually. Who's more foolish, the fool or the fool who follows him?
Oh yeah. Definitely.
Haven't had a chance to use that line in real life though, but so it is.
I think that should be something that we should all do tomorrow. We should all use one line from this movie on someone else tomorrow, but not one of the famous ones.
That's a great idea.
I use lines from this movie on a regular basis constantly.
But listeners, we want you to do that tomorrow. When you listen to this podcast on Tuesday, on Wednesday, just think of your favorite Big Trouble line. Doesn't have to be the most famous line. It could even be just yes. But yeah, go out and use a Big Trouble line. Make the world a little bit better place.
Mine's going to be...
So today, after I drove through the gates of Grant Street into Chinatown, I veered off and I went down Kearny. So Grant Street was all blocked off. And when I was going up Grant, before I hit North Beach on the left-hand side, I saw this, a gateway going down, and it said Oriental Massage Parlor. I thought, you know what? I wonder how many guys have actually gone in there and said, jokingly, I want a girl with green eyes.
Wow.
And they look at him and go, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Or it'd be even cooler if they reply, Chinese girls do not come with green eyes.
Yeah.
Well, of course. Then those guys are stoked, and they go party at the Buddha Lounge.
Yeah. And they, and the lady who says that sounds like Mrs. O'Toole. So Chinese girls don't have green eyes.
Yeah.
She sounds like Seymour Skinner's mother.
Yeah.
Well, let's get back on track. Actually, we've got one more location, and that's Egg's place. It's this huge.
Yeah.
It's this huge set.
Looks like
first
a dumb
time
wang.
Well, first time I saw it, it reminded me of the Ghostbusters firehouse, and I wonder.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, good
You know,
call.
was-
yeah,
I
totally.
wonder where they actually
It's the
filmed
same
this. Yeah. I don't know. Did they film the Ghostbusters set? That wasn't in New York, was it?
No, the interior would just be in L.A. The exterior was New York, but the interior is an L.A. set. So.
I mean, I suppose it
trying to
could be
remember.
possible, right? Could it?
It could be.
I can't remember. And do they mention that like is Egg's place, was it a former fire station?
No, he just says that he owns the whole block.
Okay.
I mean, they do have a fire pole that they end up going down later.
Yeah, that's a good. They do have a fire pole.
Yeah, maybe it's the Ghostbusters.
Well, the guy who did the special effects for Big Trouble did the special effects for Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Richard
Yeah,
Edlund.
Richard
so,
Edlund.
Yeah, Edlund and Steven Johnson. Yeah, that's right.
Maybe he had a thing for fire poles.
Mm.
I would say didn't. But I'm not sure. Whatever.
There's a fire pole at the across the street. Yeah, they got a fire pole.
I live across the street from a fire station. It's fun, but they don't have a fire pole there.
I wonder how many fire stations have been converted into strip clubs and they've kept on using that fire pole.
That's a really good question, Kai. Look into this.
I have the answer, but it's located in a Chinese fortune.
The answer is 12.
12. This is also like there's a hint here, that Egg is more than what he seems.
Mm-hmm.
Because, he starts off as goofy tour guide on this beautiful warm day.
Mm-hmm.
And we're surprised more and more by Egg. And yeah, he's not just a fixture in the neighborhood. He owns the neighborhood.
He owns the neighborhood. All the little
Yeah.
things in jars are actually worth millions or something. This is what
Yeah,
Lang says.
priceless. Yeah.
So, the stuff is priceless in these
All the
jars.
curiosos. They're kind of like that house in what was it, Friday the 13th, the TV series. Remember that?
No.
Everything's got a curse.
No, but I believe you.
I haven't thought,
I've seen that TV show in
I
20
haven't thought
years.
of that TV show in like probably 30 years.
Pre X Files.
Yeah.
So, are we done?
Actually, I had a couple just last second little nuances that you can only really see when you look at this thing so closely. Notice in the background you see Wang grabbing a sword off the wall. I was always wondering where he got that, but it looks like Egg has weapons on his wall. You see the Chang Sing grab some of their weapons that way, and then you see Jack discard his newspaper, revealing the Tech 9. So, yep, that was indeed his violin case of sorts for that one.
Well, guys, how far do they have to walk to get to Egg Sheng's place from the restaurant?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
They don't
how
look
long do you
that
have to
wet.
hide that Tech 9 with a newspaper?
Chinatown's fairly small.
No, it's not that big. Yeah.
Guess they didn't want to be stopped. Huh?
That's interesting because that is like someone kind of like noting in terms of continuity.
Yeah. So he had to hide that thing.
Yeah.
Like, get a newspaper or something. Just walking down broad daylight in Chinatown with a
walking
gun.
through Chinatown with a Tech 9.
Yeah.
Because it's 9 times out of 10 they just wouldn't bother with that conceit.
9 times out of Tech.
Tech 9 times out of 10. Me and you were both looking at each other like, we got a joke for this one.
Wow. Tech 9 times out of 10.
Did you guys already talk about Little Pete in Chinatown?
Little Pete.
Little Pete was this gang lord, I think in like the 1870s in San Francisco Chinatown, and he had a little army of hatchet men. But anyways, Little Pete was so rich that he had 3 Caucasian bodyguards,
Whoa.
and he would dress from neck to feet in chainmail, to walk around during the day because of hits and
jeez.
attempts on him. And he was this really eccentric little, crime boss. Eventually, two guys shot him and killed him while he was getting a shave at a barber shop. And he only had one security guy who went to go fetch him a newspaper, and the two guys went in there and they shot him. And those two guys supposedly, with their the money they got for doing the hit, they moved to Hong Kong, and their generations and generations of families were all successful because they're both families because their grandfathers were the hitmen for Little Pete in Chinatown. And actually, where Ross Alley is in Chinatown, dead ends right into where this barbershop used to be. Yeah.
Wow.
Very cool.
Didn't Pete Mummert mention him because his name was Pete and he had a little affinity toward him?
I think Pete Mummert mentioned Little Pete, which is, I guess, apropos. And I think didn't we talk a little time? We got a little bit into Selby's book, The Barbary Coast, the original author of
Gangs in New York.
Gangs in New York, and which had to have been a big inspiration for the original screenplay of Big Trouble in Little China, because it is set in post-Gold Rush Chinatown, and it was a totally crazy story then. And then we could have had Emperor Norton show up.
Yeah. No, and they never mentioned anyone getting shanghaied in Big Trouble in Little China. But that's such a good line. I'm surprised they didn't.
It is. If it was still period, I bet they would have.
Yeah.
This is the 80s.
Yeah.
What's the name of the Madonna movie with Sean Penn? Shanghai Surprise or something?
Oh, yeah, you're right. Shanghai
Shanghai
Surprise.
Is that it?
Wow.
It's like a...
She was a looker back then in that movie.
So is he.
We're going to do a movie minute about that one next.
Oh, God.
Shanghai Surprise Minute.
Well, I mean, it's part of the same genre of like 80s movies that dabbled somewhat in the Asiatic, culture.
Right.
I mean, same year this came out, you had The Golden Child.
Right.
Nowadays, if you get a Shanghai Surprise, it means you get like a bug in your meal. Yeah. What's that thing? Shanghai Surprise.
Ancient Chinese secret.
Well, the last thing that I want to mention about this and these 5 minutes, try watching Egg in this last part here. You watch him as he goes and he slaps the money down, then he goes off to change clothing, and then count how long it takes for him to change from that outfit into his new outfit with all of his equipment. It's about 10 seconds.
Well, he's magic.
Yeah.
Who would win in
He's
this
a
drawing
wizard.
contest? Egg or Forrest Whitaker?
Because of their eyes.
Because they're right.
Oh.
I'd vote Egg. I'd go with Egg. But yeah, that's a classic
Egg classic.
movie. Egg classic. Egg yolk. Get it, son. I'll be right back. Zoom. The 10-second costume change.
Yeah. It's not as bad as like, the thing in like The Untouchables where Sean Connery turns around and his collar is open, and then he turns around again and it's buttoned, and then he turns around again and it's opened again, and turns around again and it's buttoned.
Sure. You know what Sean Connery's favorite candy is? Snickers.
Thank you.
His favorite Madonna movie? Shanghai Surprise.
Oh man. I heard that Kurt Russell before he was doing this was almost going to be in Highlander as the
No way.
Yeah.
Really?
He turned it down.
Huh.
Then Christopher Lambert.
I don't know. I so associate Christopher Lambert with.
Yeah, it's hard to.
Creeped me out, Christopher Lambert as a kid.
What about in Greystoke too?
Yeah.
And we're
No,
back
I
to
didn't like
Greystoke.
him.
We're back to Greystoke. Took a full circle. Also played who? Raiden, who is based on who? Lightning.
Oh.
Boom.
In Mortal Kombat, the movie?
Uh-huh.
Cycles. There you go.
That could have been better, that movie.
Well, gentlemen, that actually wraps up our 5 minutes of trouble here.
We live.
Before we go, I just wanted to just ask you guys. What is your experience seeing these movies? Did you guys see them in the theater? Did you see them on video the first time? Daven?
I saw this movie first run at the Scotts Valley Cinema in Santa Cruz, California. It was a theater that didn't get the hits. It got like mid-grade stuff and then did double feature. So like you wouldn't get E.T., you'd see Baby Secret Lost Legend there instead, You wouldn't see Indiana Jones, you would see Big Trouble in Little China. But I was blown away.
You actually got the movie the first time you saw it? You weren't confused or...
No,
anything
not at
like
all.
that?
I thought it was great. I love the humor. I love the special effects. It was right up my alley.
You did better than I did.
Yeah. Well, I was 6. I was 9.
That's the
I'm a
perfect.
9-year-old. Like this is like when you're a 9-year-old, you are Jack Burton. You think you're bigger badass than you are, but you're actually an idiot. So.
Oh, so you can totally identify with Jack.
Oh yeah, and and all the kung fu stuff. It's like when you're a kid, you're like, oh my god, that's amazing. I just Karate Kid had come out just a couple years before. Like it was the best of both worlds.
So
Yeah,
you had the
Well,
same
about-
experience like what I had when I watched it on HBO. I was about 10, and yeah, I thought it was just an awesome movie. I didn't have very many other movies to really compare it to, so I was just loving it.
I have no memory when I saw this movie at all. But I've seen it a gazillion times.
That's all that matters.
That's all that matters, yeah.
Is it possible your mother saw it in the theater when you were
When I was in the womb?
you were in the womb?
Wait, you're
it's
not-
possibly sort of like osmosis.
I don't
so.
know. I do
No.
remember seeing Howard the Duck in the theater.
Because you're like older than me.
41.
I'm 39,
Yeah.
so you were not in the womb when this movie came out.
Yeah, no.
You were like 12.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing this one in the theater. It's to my memory. I was 12. I remember seeing Aliens, and that shook me up a little bit.
Yeah, same year.
Yeah,
That was 1987?
86.
6?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Can I have a theory
I
then?
was 11 then.
You did see Big Trouble in Little China in the theater, but then you saw Aliens, and the trauma gave you a short-term memory loss.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, this movie didn't do well, so it was out of the theaters in like 2 weeks. So it's a good
Yeah.
chance you did not see this in the theater.
Well, Kai, did you see Golden Child?
I did see The Golden Child in the theater. Yeah.
I saw that at the drive.
The demon at the end was pretty good.
So do you think we should do the Golden Child Minute?
Or 5 golden minutes?
Five
golden
golden minutes. Five golden children.
Because in The Golden Child, they go to Nepal, right?
Yeah.
Just like Doctor Strange does.
Yeah.
I've never seen Golden Child.
Oh, really?
No. I've seen Big Trouble enough times, but never seen Golden Child.
Oh, fascinating.
Yeah, back-
Well, it's
Yeah, I just got
bad
blown
guy-
back of the wall.
The bad guy is really.
Yeah, it's
really
Charles
good.
Dance is his name,
Yeah,
right?
he's really good.
He's
Charles
in like
Dance is the bad guy.
yeah, he's in like Game of Thrones and stuff.
He has like
and-
red eyes and stuff. He gets really
Mhm.
creepy.
He's got a red beard. He's really funny. He shoots a guy in the street and then it's like he announces, "I've just shot a man
I
with a
remember
gun
that.
on purpose. If anybody wants to call the cops." Yeah.
There is a long-standing feud between Big Trouble fans
Mhm.
and Golden Child.
And Golden Child fans. I think we could all just get along.
No,
but
it's very. We got to just.
There is a dagger in both of them that's very important.
it's true. And Egg Shen is in both of those films.
Oh.
And isn't
Victor Wong is in both his films.
Isn't James Hong in the movie as well? James Hong?
Victor Wong is. I don't know about James Hong.
it seems like Hong's in
Is
Golden
he?
Child as well. There is some interesting overlap with.
Maybe James Hong plays. Oh, does he play the caretaker of the Dragon Lady? Remember the Dragon Lady in Golden Child? What?
Forgot all about that.
Well, I think we're gonna wrap this up. Daven, Kai, do you have anything that you'd like to plug one more time for us?
Super Shangri-La show.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. So
We got a bunch of those coming
well,
out.
Obviously, I love to plug the Super Shangri-La show. I'm going to have this month, dun 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 dun. This Wednesday, I'm going to be showing 2 turkeys before Thanksgiving. The Two-Headed Transplant, 1971, I believe, and The Thing with Two Heads from 1972.
Yeah, friends, if you're in the greater San Francisco Bay Area, just come to the Balboa Theater.
Yeah.
Enemies come too. 'Cause
My next in the Nice Guy series is the other Kurt Russell, John Carpenter film, The Thing. We're going to be playing on December 13th. So, trivia and prizes before the show.
You know what's really good? Have you seen The Thing Lego, the Lego version of The
No,
Thing?
but that sounds awesome.
It's so good.
Okay.
So good.
Is it real or is it like somebody made this up?
No. It's like
It's a real
whatever.
thing?
It's like YouTube thingy
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's a Lego animated version of the thing.
of The Thing.
Wow.
It is so good.
That's amazing.
Lego Robotine. It's brilliant.
There's a Lego Big Trouble in Little China.
I've seen a
Probably.
Jack Burton Lego Brickman. He's pretty cool.
I'm going to get you the Lego Eye monster.
You know, now that you mentioned that, years ago when I was doing Flash animation, I actually did I was planning on doing the whole movie. I think I ended up doing 3 parts of it, which was Big Trouble in Little China, the South Park edition. I was able to get different South Park type of characters for everybody in there, and I did the first. I don't know, about first 30 minutes of the movie and sort of like little animated parts. I'll have to put a link to that one also on the site.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Let me check it out. It was
Yeah,
pretty
first
fun.
30 minutes are great anyway. I mean,
That's-
the whole battle.
Yeah.
In South Park style Flash animation, that's wicked cool.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, let me just do the final stuff for our podcast. Please make sure to visit us at 5minutesoftrouble.com. Check out the glove compartment section on the site for some links to some of the references in this episode, and we had quite a few, so hopefully you'll want to check those out. We're also on Facebook at 5 Minutes of Trouble, and we have a discussion group called the 5 Minutes of Trouble Truck Stop, so please join and continue the conversation. We're also on Twitter at 5 Minutes Trouble, and we're on Stitcher. We ask if you could please spread the word about this podcast to your friends. If you can, give us a review or a nice rating on iTunes. We really appreciate it. And be sure to check out some of the other great Movies by Minutes podcasts out there. Star Wars Minute, Airport Minute, Caddyshack Minute, Lord of the Rings Minute, Jurassic Park Minute, and soon coming, The Godfather Minute. So please check those guys out.
Cool.
So Daven and Kai, thank you again very much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Hope you had a good time.
谢谢.
All right, and thank you once again, Brett.
Thank you,
And
Jeff.
and I think we'll wrap this up. So this is the Podcast Express signing off. Tune in next week for another 5 Minutes of Trouble.
Indeed. If we're not back in 5 minutes, call the president.